We thought they were significant to Glasgow. They'd been designed by a Scot, Gilbert Mackenzie Trench, and there had been 323 of these boxes in the street of Glasgow, one for every police beat and one for every 6 officers. And because they'd been so much part of the history of Glasgow since 1930, pre-telephone and the only contact with emergency services, and we thought it was important to keep some of these structures in the street.
We became involved in the police boxes in 1994 after the police had declared them to be redundant relics of a defunct communication system. Basically, they were using two-way radios and didn't need to use the police boxes anymore. Glasgow had the last of the on-street police boxes in the country. Well, the last of the TARDIS-style police boxes, if you like. And as such, they're very special here. There's a lot of emotive issues behind them, a lot of memories that people have of the boxes.
I remember going to the co-op with my mother, and when she would go inside to shop, I would climb on the roof of the box and sit and wait for her outside the co-op with my bag of crisps until the policeman came and shouted me down. And then one day I noticed the box was gone, and then slowly boxes around Glasgow began to disappear over the next 2 years until there was only the 10 boxes left.
Historic Scotland has listed them as B-listed buildings, so they are reckoned to have a national interest as well in the history of communications and the history of architecture within the city. There's also a lot of affection from the police themselves.
Here, cooperation with the Glasgow police offering and explaining what happens behind the scenes in modern crime detection. The thieves make a quick getaway in a fast car, ignoring all traffic signals. Within a few minutes, the police on point duty are acquainted with the facts and all patrol cars are on the trail. This one has learnt by wireless that the thieves are driving in the opposite direction and turns to follow them. Policemen are warned by telephone in all patrol boxes.
From the sterling work of the police in Glasgow over to the law in Dundee. No, not that law. That's better. To find out how the boxes were utilised there.
The police box system in Dundee started 1935. There was 82 boxes within the city, and there were 3 types. Additional, which was a very small box which just held a telephone. The beat box, which had a cooker and as well as the telephone and the sink, and the section box, which housed a sergeant in charge of a section and probably 1 or 2 beat constables. They'd be about half a mile apart, probably about 3 to each beat. And the beat box, you left the beat box and you went by a certain route, and you probably passed the additional box. If the sergeant wanted to meet you at there, he knew what time you were supposed to be there. Well, that was your home for 8 hours in that day. That was you always went back to their box. If the light was flashing, you would go back to your box. But what was in the boxes was a light, a basin, water, a kettle and a cooker. There was files, and there was what they called a box journal, and everything that happened on the beat you wrote in the box journal. They were used to detain criminals. You had to use them temporarily to detain them until a vehicle would come from police headquarters and remove yourself and the prisoners to headquarters. Well, it wasn't a comfortable place, but you still have fond memories about it. It was cold in the winter time. It was very, very cold, and you sometimes had to sit with a greatcoat on. You couldn't take it off because it was so cold. But you got used to it, and you treated it as your part-time home, you might say. Personal radios and the panda cars were instrumental in helping to quicken the demise of the police boxes. They just disappeared, you might say.
This is the end of Box 49, which stood in Victoria Street for a guy long time. Generations of police were glad of its shelter. And so endeth an era, whose service so hard only to end up in the scrap merchant's yard. There was, however, one disappearing box that went on to captivate millions across the globe.
Purely as a piece of art, its structure of line and colour is curiously counterpointed by the redundant vestiges of its function.
And since it has no call to be here, the art lies in the fact that it is here.
Exquisite. Absolutely exquisite.